Astrology 101, Seeing Yourself in the Stars. Welcome to this Totally Teens program with Durham County Library. Today we're going to talk about how you can learn more about yourself and your life using the ancient practice of astrology. First off, what is astrology? I think these two quotes sum up the science of astrology pretty well. The first one says, astrology is the study of cycles. By observing the cyclical movement of the planets, we are able to gain a greater understanding of the cycles and patterns in our own lives. The second one says, although astrology is not fortune-telling, when skillfully applied, astrology can give us insight into our personal issues, help us unlock our highest potentials, and teach us how to live in harmony with the universe. Both of those are by Kevin Burke. So while astrology might not be able to tell you what you're going to eat for lunch tomorrow, it can give you some insight into the patterns in your life and how to be true to yourself. Usually when people in this country are talking about astrology, they're referring to Western or Greek astrology, but there are actually many forms of astrology from all over the world. In addition to Western, there's Vedic or Indian, Chinese, Mayan, Egyptian, Australian, Native American, and many more systems of knowledge. Today we're going to talk about Western astrology. Western astrology has influence and history from Europe, Asia, and North Africa, including Egypt. This image shows the 12 signs of the zodiac, where the 360 degrees of space is divided into 12 30-degree segments, and each one is representing a different sign. According to Greek astrology, where each planet was in the sky when you were born, including the sun and the moon, can tell you more about yourself. Your birth chart will tell you just that. It tells you where the sun, moon, and planets were when you were born. It's based on the location of your birth and the time of your birth, as well as the day. And it also tells you about the relationship between the planets in your chart. And we'll get to that in a little bit. This list shows all 12 of the signs, as well as which time of year they correspond with. To find your sun sign, find your birthday in this list and which sign it corresponds with. For example, my birthday is December 15th, so I am a Sagittarius. Each sun sign is thought to have a different personality. As a quick disclaimer, there's more to your chart than just the sun sign, so if this doesn't really describe you, don't worry. With that in mind, take a moment to find your sun sign on this list. This is the first 6 signs, and the next 6 will be on the next slide. As I said, there's more to your chart than just your sun sign. Now we're going to talk about the big 3, the sun, moon, and rising or ascendant. Your sun describes your true character, how you express yourself, and what revitalizes you. Some also describe it as who you are becoming or what you're headed towards. The moon, on the other hand, is all about your inner world and emotions. It describes how you feel or act when you're at home. Lastly, your rising sign, or which sign was on the horizon when you were born, best describes how you interact with the world and how people tend to see you. Here's an example of the big 3. Someone with a Sagittarius sun, when they're at their truest and best self, is enthusiastic, idealistic, and curious. However, if they have an Aries moon, like is listed here, their emotions might be intense and quickly changing. Lastly, if they're an Aries rising, and yes, you can have the same sign in different placements, then the way they interact with the world is going to be energetic, motivated, and candid, and that's how people are going to see them. So as you can tell, knowing your big 3 is going to show you a lot of different facets of your personality and how people see you and how you interact with the world. The next part of the birth chart we're going to talk about today is the planets. Each planet represents a different aspect of your life. Which sign each planet is in your chart, in other words, which segment of the sky each planet was in when you were born, is supposed to tell you about these different areas of your life. The personal planets include Venus, Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter, and tell you about how you are in relationships, how you communicate, how you take action, and the areas of your life you will have gifts and blessings in. So, for example, if you have Jupiter in Virgo, you're likely to have gifts in an area of your life surrounding studiousness and attention to detail. If you are a Venus in Scorpio, you might be rather intense and possessive in your relationships. Those are just some examples of how the personal planets can affect your chart. Next, we have the generational planets. They're called generational because they have such long orbits that they stay in the same sign for several years. For that reason, people across an entire generation may have the same placement for, say, Neptune or Pluto, and therefore have similar characteristics in that area of their lives. Saturn describes obstacles and responsibilities, Uranus describes inspiration and change, Neptune is dreams and imagination, and Pluto refers to power, death, and rebirth. One interesting thing to note about today's generation of teens is that those born between 1995 and 2008 have Pluto in Sagittarius. That means they're optimistic about change, free-spirited and independent, as well as confident in their values and morals. Do you think this describes your generation? You're probably wondering, how do I find my birth chart? The best free charts that I found are on a website called Cafe Astrology, but you can also just Google free birth chart. Also, if you don't know your birth time, you can still get a lot out of your chart, including your sun, moon, and planets, so definitely check it out. Some things to ask yourself when looking at your chart are, what do you notice? What resonates with you? What is not true or is no longer true for you? What can you learn from your birth chart, and how can it help you grow? I hope this presentation helped you learn more about yourself, as well as how people around the world have seen the sky and stars for many generations. Thanks for watching.